We're going to go through our panel, and I am going to essentially tee everybody up on some of the questions you may have. And we will break down following that with a question and answer from our audience and our Zoom landscape. Put this back. So there's two extraordinary women joining me on the stage right now. I'll start at the very end. Somebody I got to play with, you guys, Tammy Sutton-Brown. Woo! Ontario's finest. WNBA champion. She played for the Charlotte Sting. She played for the Indiana Fever. She played 12 years in the Women's National Basketball Association, not to mention playing overseas in Europe and Asia. She was a proud member of our Olympic team in the 2000 Summer Olympics that took place in Sydney. She has had an indelible impact on women's basketball here in Canada, as well as the United States. That is Tammy Sutton-Brown, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
You guys heard Mr. Tannenbaum mention Teresa Resch. She is extraordinary. Longtime Toronto Raptors executive, she spent 10 years with the team's championship front office, focusing on player development, strategy, operations. She played an instrumental role, as you all know, in the design and construction of Raptors' OVO Athletic Center. She was pivotal in launching Toronto's G League, Raptors 905. Before the Raptors, she spent several years at the NBA League office as a member of the International Basketball Operations Team. And today, her innovation is going to take over. She is the new president of the WNBA team here in Toronto. And you guys heard from Cathy Engelbert. I could provide paragraphs and chapters on what she has already done. I mentioned she's a boss. Since she took over as commissioner in the WNBA in 2019, we have a players-driven collective bargaining agreement that she is at the helm of and responsible for. The money that has been raised for the WNBA, incredible, upwards of $75 million, if I'm not mistaken, Cathy. Her stewardship, goes without saying, is impeccable. So we are so fortunate to have Cathy, Teresa, and Tammy. And I'm going to start off with this panel by just asking Tammy, do you believe it? We're here?
Wow. I always hope for this day. I think as an athlete, you look forward to playing in front of family and friends. And I always wish I could play on Canadian soil. I wasn't able to, but the Canadians that are playing in the W right now will have that opportunity. And the future Canadians will have that opportunity. So this is a really, really special day, not only for Toronto, but this is Canada's team. I know that there's a number of WNBA fans across Canada, and this is your franchise. So yes, I'm excited. I did not think this day would ever come. I'm so excited, and I'm so happy that we are here today.
Well, who did you, Tammy, look up to? Because, you know, growing up here in Ontario, like, who were some of your basketball icons?
There was no WNBA when I was playing growing up. And so my role models were Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Those were my role models because that's who I saw on television. So I smile every time these next generation of kids come in and the rookie class comes in and they've grown up with the W and their role models are Dawn Staley, Sue Bird, Cheryl Swoops, because they grew up watching the W. And so I'm really excited for the future. Thanks to Cathy, her and her team who continue to push the W forward. These girls, their role models are now WNBA players.
Yeah, and I have to imagine, Cathy, when you're crossing borders for the first time and entering in this international platform, why Toronto? What was it for you about Toronto that made this, that you needed this to happen as the next expansion franchise?
Well, Stacey, we had done a huge analysis. I'm a big data person. We had done a huge analysis back in 2020, pre-pandemic, believe it or not, and we were looking at Toronto. We were about to announce a preseason game back in early 2020, literally the week that the NBA essentially shut down the sports world because of the pandemic. And so from that moment on, we knew the diversity of the city. We knew that we wanted to bring a team north. We wanted to expand globally. We wanted a global platform, a new fan base, an avid fan base. When I first, I wasn't even the commissioner yet, but I was named, and I went to Game 6 out in Golden State. Adam Silver had invited me, and I just saw the passion of the Toronto fans, even at an away game, and then obviously winning the championship that year. And just it's got me thinking, let's look at the data. Let's find a committed ownership group. Let's make sure we have a good arena and player experience. Let's have a preseason game here, which coming off the pandemic, we eventually did in 23, a little 3 years late, but I saw the excitement and the vibrancy of the city around women's sports and women's basketball, and obviously Canada basketball, and having Canadian players in our league playing at the highest level, elite, all factored into it. But when Larry and I met, it was, kind of like that Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello. I said, there's no one more dedicated to building women's sports, I think, in this city, in this country, than Larry and Judy.
Yeah, and simply the infrastructure is fantastic here for Toronto, as you alluded to. Teresa, we got a name yet? T. Okay, tell us a little bit, Teresa, about the plans for this new team and the innovative mindset with you specifically as the president.
I mean, everybody wants to hear the details, right? Where is this team going to play? What are we going to do? I'm your woman, right? I get to call the shot. So we heard a lot already. This isn't just Toronto's team. This is Canada's team. And we're so excited for the girls and women of Canada and the people that love and support them to love and support us. We're going to play across Canada, different markets. We look forward to doing that in a way that no other professional sports team in Canada has ever done. These games are going to matter, and we can't wait to see you there. Coca-Cola will be your home base. We're going to have a fan section just like a soccer team, and you guys better be loud. And I cannot wait to rock that place. So that's where we're going to play. We're going to be everywhere.
Teresa, I just would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the years you spent with our NBA, or incredible NBA talent, and just the partnership and what that looks like and the energy that you're able to draw from that group as we welcome a team in 2026.
Oh yeah, it set the stage. Like Cathy mentioned Game 6. I remember very distinctly, Kyle, you might remember this, after that game, there was probably, I'm going to say 5,000 to 12,000 people in the arena afterwards yelling and chanting, "We the North." They sang the anthem. This was on an away trip in America. When we get to go across, coast to coast to coast in Canada and play these games, it's going to be incredible, and we can't wait to see everybody around the country really show up.
So, Tammy, you played overseas 12 years in the WNBA. That's called an incredible veteran career. A couple all-stars in there. What, for you, in terms of this team, is how can fans show up? Because you've seen everything from Europe to Asia to the U.S. What do we need to see here?
Honestly, I don't think I would have played 12 years if it wasn't the support that I had in the W and internationally. I think for players, the fans are that sixth player. They're that sixth woman. They're that sixth man. And so we feed off of that energy. And so fans are incredibly important. How fans can show up? You can attend games, buy season tickets, wear your favorite players' jerseys to games, watch games on TV, follow your players on social media. I think that there's tons of ways in order for fans across Canada to show up for their players. Players will say they don't look at their social media. They really do. So they see all the messages, they see all the love and support, and I think that's really important, and it definitely does make a difference.
Awesome. I just am curious, too, just from your standpoint. We're hearing this Caitlin Clark. Have you guys heard of her? Right? We're hearing about this wave, but the WNBA, Cathy, as you know very well, has been in existence for 27 years. We have a lot of incredible Hall of Famers, legends like Tammy. I played 5 years, so just curious from your standpoint how this wave of players now impacts what we've already built as a sisterhood.
I think having role models in market will be of huge impact on the next generation of young athletes. It's one thing to watch a game on TV, but to see a game live in person, there's something really special about that. There's something really special about meeting your favorite player, getting an autograph, taking a picture. And so you hear time and time again what athletes say when they were younger, they met their favorite player and the impact it had on their game. It inspired them to where they are now. And so I think that there'll be a huge impact. This team in Toronto will make a difference. I think adding a few other cities as well over the next few years will open up additional roster spots. Right now we have 4 Canadians playing in the W. Hopefully in the next few years we'll double that number.
Yeah. Teresa, I'm curious from you, how can Canadians support this new team that's a couple years away?
Yeah, we got 2 years to go, but I think the excitement and enthusiasm that we'll garner over the next 2 years is going to be incredible. So number one, the first questions I've been asked in the last hour that I've been appointed president, every single person has said, what is this team name and colors going to be? We don't know. It's a clean slate. So we are very much looking forward to sourcing information and suggestions from the Canadian public. So keep an eye out for that in the near future. Ultimately, Tammy touched on a lot of it. Nothing speaks louder than how people spend their time, energy, and money. So spend it in ways that support this team. Buy a ticket, buy league pass, watch games. If you're a decision maker, data from Canadian women's sports say 2 out of every 3 Canadians are fans of women's sports. Invest in it. And then when you're a fan, look at who's investing in this team and support them. It's a whole flywheel, and we can really get it churning if we make the right decisions. So really looking forward to really growing this team and setting a new level of investment and support that the WNBA has never seen.
Right. Cathy, we're going to see Golden State right next, and then it'll be Toronto. That'll be 14 teams, which is awesome. The goal, I believe, by
16
by 2028.
Heading to 16, yes.
Right? So we're having Olympics down in the States in the same time frame. What advice do you have? Because you have been a part of expansions. Obviously, these are huge undertakings. So we're sitting up here kind of speaking casually in some respects about it, but these are deep meetings. They take a long time. Give us a perspective on that.
Yeah, it's, when I first joined the league and I saw that we were the longest tenured women's professional sports league in North America, by the way, by double any other. I mean, a lot of leagues have started and folded in hockey, soccer, and even basketball. So we take that with great responsibility. And as I looked around at some major cities that are big media markets, that have a lot of corporate, Fortune 500 companies based there, I said, how could we only be in 12 cities? And as I started to talk to corporate partners, it would be great if you would be in Toronto, in the Bay Area. And so again, looking at all of that, we take it with great responsibility to expand. We need, as Tammy just said, the number of roster spots, 144 today, roster spots are available. We're going to expand that with the 4 teams we're going to add by 48. That's a 30% increase. So that's going to give a lot of opportunity to a lot of young women, whether they come out of college or not. We obviously have an international program as well, and it will inspire hopefully millions of other girls to pick up a basketball. I mean, one thing, you mentioned Caitlin Clark, but this whole rookie class and all the attention on the WNBA and women's basketball, I can't tell you how many people are now coming up to me in arenas and saying, my 10-year-old daughter, my 8-year-old daughter saw Sabrina and Steph in the NBA All-Star game, and they started to pick up a basketball. And we know from data that girls who play sports become confident leaders in society and become leaders. I think 90% of the Fortune 500 women, the women that are leading Fortune 500 companies, played organized youth sports at least through high school. There's something there about building that confidence. The mayor said it. Again, we take it with great responsibility to expand this league, to grow, because the more you grow, the more opportunities you give, the more, again, it's just a huge inspiration to so many. And these players, the quality of the play on the court, Tammy, have you seen this?
I haven't. It almost wants me. It almost makes me want to
coming out of retirement.
Get back into shape and come out of retirement. The growth has been incredible. As I said, Cathy, you've come on board and you've done a great job, and your team's done a great job pushing this game forward. I think the players coming in are now bringing their fan base with them too, and so we have new eyeballs. We have more eyeballs, and hopefully that just continues to grow.
What's it going to look like from I would say, Cathy and Teresa, the player experience, coming here to We've seen the Raptors do it, right, for years now, obviously, but what's that experience going to look like for the WNBA?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Stacey. Yeah, we've had, well, for me personally, I've had 10 years at the Raptors understanding what professional athletes moving to Canada need to be successful and to be supported and have a great environment. We're going to put all those things to use because we've made mistakes in the past and we won't have to make those in the W because we know those things now. So a supportive community and understanding what is here. It's an untapped market. I think the reason that Kyle Lowry here is in the audience today is because of the impact that Toronto had on him and his experience, and I think a lot of his teammates would say the same thing. And we look forward to doing that in the W. We're, as Larry mentioned in his remarks, we're investing in capital improvements. They're going to have their own place to play. We're going to be home at U of T first while we build it. We're going to be investing in back-of-house players' spaces at Coca-Cola Coliseum. And more than anything, we're going to be investing in the people that we surround them with. Our staff is going to be elite. We're going to make sure they have the resources to succeed both on and off the court. And I think what's great is Masai, as a leader of the Raptors, has set a great game plan of what that looks like in Toronto. And it's been followed by TFC and the Leafs and the Blue Jays. And we're just going to be one more cog in the wheel. And more than anything, hopefully we'll be able to set the level and they'll be starting to copy from us.
And the only thing I'll add is this is a very competitive league. Every owner wants to win a championship. Larry wants to win a championship in how many years? Fast. 2, he said. Uh-oh,
Gosh,
fast.
pressure.
Our free agency market is very, very vibrant and dynamic now. So that player experience that Teresa just talked about will be very, very important. Because again, I have Bethany Donovan, our head of basketball operations here, league operations, Tammy, former players, yourself. It's different than when you all played, and this free agency system.
What hasn't changed since we played back in the early 2000s? It's definitely different. The salaries, can we just start there? The salaries are a lot different. I think they're making probably 2, 3, 4 times what we made back in our days. What do you say? 2, 3, 4?
I echo. By the way, we see some of our WNBA and Canadian legends up here.
And we have some Canadian
Shout out
basketball
to you guys.
players here as well. Kim Gauscher, Tamara
Yes.
Tatum. Stand up, please stand up.
Yes.
Canadian Olympians right here representing Team Canada.
I'm call out one more. Sylvia
Sweeney. Where's Sylvia?
There she
Sylvia. The original, Sylvia. Thank you, Teresa.
So, Tammy, I want to take this a step further because can I get a fist bump, Cathy? Charter flights folks are they're now a part of this thing, okay? Tammy, what was it like, not to age us, but when we played in the 2000s and you played for 12 years, what was it like with the travel and the lower salaries, but we still love the game so much?
Oh, we love the game, but having private flights changes the game. We took commercial flights, so there were often times when we would have a delay. If a flight was canceled, you would try to get on that next flight. We usually try to take the first flight out in the morning so we could avoid that delay. But travel definitely makes a difference. I think media exposure as well. We didn't have any national televised games. I might have played in maybe 2 or 3 my whole career, and now I can, switch on the TV on a Saturday afternoon, and a WNBA game is on national TV. So the game has definitely changed for the better, and it's completely different.
And just maybe a comment on that. When I joined the league, I think we had 80 games of our over 200 on national platforms. Last year, we had 205 of our 240 games on national platforms. If you build it, they will come.
Absolutely, yes.
So I want to pick up on that, Cathy. Since you took over, and so much respect for those who, served in the role before. But we have just seen, we mentioned charter flights, the collective bargaining agreement. What are you most proud of? It's probably too broad of a question for you, but it's fascinating, really.
And my team is here. Phil Cook, my chief marketing officer, first ever CMO of the WNBA, a longtime Nike guy who does marketing better than Nike. And just what I'm most proud of is it's great to raise financial capital, but you need human capital to grow a business and to build a business and build a brand. And the brand was very strong. The organization wasn't. The transformation that's happening, the business transformation. I mean, the basketball is great, but the business was not. So most proud of what this team has done through a lot of crisis. I mean, I was 6 months in the league, the pandemic hits. We then have a racial crisis. We then get thrown in the middle of a political battle in the state of Georgia. pretty existential for the WNBA. We might not be sitting here announcing an expansion team if we're out of the sports landscape that year, and we're not here today from survive to thrive. So most proud about this team coming together, the hiring we've been able to do. I mean, Phil, how many do you have now in marketing? We had 1 when I joined. We now have 25-ish. And it's about human capital and hiring great people to grow a business, and probably most proud about that, because then that leads into how you build something and how you grow a business. And again, financial capital is great. It's the human capital that matters.
Love that. And you mentioned the word grow. Mr. Tannenbaum made a great statement, and I want you to elaborate, Teresa, on this. This is Canada's team. What does that mean? Can you give us a little bit more? Because we saw the sellout. I watched it. I saw the one in Edmonton recently. I watched it. What does that mean for the country, coast to coast?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it a lot. We're going to play games. You can actually go and in person see aspirational. These are the women playing at the top of their game. But I think more than that, we're going to be really involved in the community. We're really going to be purpose-led and integrate into the communities when we go there, have fan fests, be able to really impact. We talked about women leaders, right? 90% of all C-suite women have played organized sports. Provide opportunity for that. And more than anything, work with partners who are doing great work on the ground already and using our platform to enhance what they're doing and the impact that they're having already. So we're already partnering with a lot of different groups to have this event today, and we look forward to doing even more in the future.
Okay, awesome. And we are getting ready to wrap for questions here in a second, but I want to know from Tammy, because I grew up in Brockville, which when I was a young girl, population 21,000, roughly 4 hours east of here, down the 401, right? Can I get a shout out on the 401? Tammy, you grew up here, right?
I did. Markham, Ontario.
Markham.
Shout out Markham, Ontario. Yes.
Markham, Ontario. We played against each other in club basketball. What are these athletes? This is a different experience in Canada. What are they getting by coming to Toronto? Those selected to play on this team in 2026, what are they walking into?
They're walking into the best fans in the WNBA. I know, Cathy, I know you probably, all the teams are your baby, but Toronto is really special. It is a special place. This is a unique team. It's not just going to be Toronto's team, it's going to be Canada's team. And so Canadians across the board, I interact with them all the time. They're passionate. They're ready. It's time. If y'all haven't been on board yet, we've been trying to tell you for a long time. The W is a staple. Women's basketball is on a rise. I know that there's a lot more eyeballs, but this is a great place. Toronto is the best city in the world. I am partial to that, but it is the best city. It's diverse. We have so much culture here. I think that they'll have a great experience. I know we have success. Kyle Lowry, Scotty Barnes was here. I know they speak highly. They come back. DeMar DeRozan. It's a really, really special here. This is a special city.
Just lastly, Teresa, what do you envision opening day looking like in a couple of years?
Oh, just the greatest day of my life.
I said drop the mic right there.
Yeah, that was perfect to segue us to our audience. As we get ready, I got my girl back there. We are ready for your questions. So we're going to take a few questions from the audience right now. And we're also going to incorporate Zoom for some people that couldn't be here with us, so.
Perfect. Hi, Savannah Hamilton, NBA TV Canada. First of all, congratulations just for bringing the Toronto a WNBA franchise. But I guess this goes to Teresa as well as Cathy. Just in terms of what those initial conversations were like when, it finally clicked that Toronto was going to get a WNBA team. Can you walk us through that? As well for Cathy, in terms of what was the factors that you looked at that you really wanted Toronto to get a WNBA team as well?
Yeah, obviously, any discussion about an expansion team has to be based in, do you have a committed long-term ownership group? Yes. Met with Larry many times, came up, actually attended a Maple Leafs game with him one night. And just looking at, it is a journey. These are hard. Looking at, again, committed ownership group, arena, practice facility, all the things that go into the player experience. So we want this to be a highly successful franchise in the network with the other 13 teams. So, but it's a journey. I mean, Larry and his team, we worked very hard. We negotiated hard. It's complicated to stand up a team. It's hard work. Women's sports is like pushing a big boulder up the hill, and we're getting to the top, guys. So that's why I'm so proud that we got this done. We're able to announce this today and really make history here in Canada.
Haley McGoldrick, Sportsnet.ca. Cathy, my question is for you. You've spoken many times about how the WNBA is a global brand. It's not just in the United States and Canada. With this team, Larry said that these games are going to be played in Vancouver and Montreal, but how does having a team outside of the United States really advance your mission of the WNBA being a global brand?
Yeah, so if you look at our strategy has kind of three simple pillars: player first, stakeholder success, fan engagement. And I've really admired what the NBA has done over a long period of time to globalize their game. I mean, very well known from a player, team, loyalty. Now other sports leagues are copying off of them, doing their global games equivalent. So I would love, and so that's why this is so important to us, to be outside the United States, here in Toronto and in Canada, to start to build that global brand, because we know when we bring the product to fans outside the US, they love it. You know, I meet with a lot of people, including government officials in the US, and they say one of the number one most requested people by embassies are women basketball players, to come to embassies and inspire the next generation of girls, because they know that's good for their society. And so that's why this is so great as our first foray outside the United States with an expansion team. And again, there's other ways we can globalize our platform, digital, social, media, things like that. We're getting more and more international players coming into the W. Again, the NBA has a very large percentage and a lot of stars. We, I think, have 17% of our players were born outside the United States and growing. So that's all part of it too, because again, when that you have players like we do, Canadian players, it's really important that they're playing in the league, they're thriving in the league, and now we're going to give those Canadian players as well as US players the opportunity to play here.
Just a quick pause. I forgot one question. Where did you get these shoes?
So these shoes have the current 12 logos of the WNBA teams. My daughter on Instagram saw a woman who does custom shoes. She DM'd her. I didn't even know what DMing was when she told me that. And so she had them. My daughter had these made by this woman, Holly Rowe, who's one of our sideline reporters for ESPN. I gave her the link to it. She's now ordering her pair. But now I need new shoes because I got 2 more franchises to put on here, including Toronto. So I'll wait for your brand to get new shoes to come out.
Chelsea Late, Raptors HQ and Winsider. My question is for Teresa. So you mentioned learning the needs of NBA players through your role at the Raptors. And obviously, you know, women athletes and women in general have different needs than, you know, other athletes. And so do you predict that there'll be any different needs through getting these players coming to Canada? And what do you have maybe a few ideas started already to accommodate those needs?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that one. We're all unique individuals. I think we all understand there's a lot of difference between men and women. And I think more than anything, what I've learned working for the Raptors is to listen to the players, ask questions and hear what they're saying. And I think Cathy at the league level has done that really well, listening to what the player needs are, as well as the Players Association. You can see it in their last CBA negotiations. Some of the things that would never have been thought about in a men's professional sports league were integrated into theirs. So very similar. It's just a process you go through. I'm going to hire a really great GM who's going to take the lead on that. I'm going to empower them to really lead the team and be the point of contact with the players. But yeah, of course I have some ideas because I'm a woman and I know what I want.
Hi, Lindsay Dunn, City TV. I've been covering the WNBA for 13 years, and unprofessionally, this is the greatest day of my life. This question is for Teresa, team president. Feels great to say that, but we know that you've been a trailblazer for women in sports, and I know I'm sure it wasn't easy for you to leave the Raptors, but being the first team president for this franchise, what does this moment mean for you?
Well, thanks for asking that question, Lindsay. I know I've seen you shared that dream for a long time together, so great to see you here today. What does it mean? It means that I finally get to call the shots. I mean, Masai always introduced me as his boss, but that was far from the truth. Now I actually get to. So more than anything, I'm really excited to impact the experience of elite level women professionals, but more than anything, the impact that they're going to have on our communities and what the opportunity this team has to really shape and mold not just Torontonians, but Canadians. And it's not just the young girls and women, but it's people that really love and support them as well. A lot of allies, a lot of men who are going to be huge fans of this team, and I can't wait to impact them and open their eyes to maybe some different perspectives or things they may not have known otherwise. So thanks for that question.
Hi, Shireen Ahmed, CBC Sports. Congratulations to all of you. I just wanted to ask that the WNBA is arguably one of the most socially and politically progressive leagues in the world. How is that going to fit in with the Toronto vibe? Teresa and Tammy, if you could field this question.
So I think
Yes.
the question was, we're obviously a very socially progressive league. How does that fit in with the Toronto?
The vibe and the
vibe in
energy of
the
Toronto.
culture?
Oh, okay, got it. Sorry, Shireen. So as not a native Torontonian, so I grew up in the States, I moved here 11 years ago, became a Canadian citizen 2 years ago. I believe, oh, can't get rid of me now. But I think that's very correct. I think that Toronto has a unique perspective, both within the makeup of the demographic and how we do business. It's very similar to any other great North American city, but it has a uniqueness to it that I think will be actually very attractive to a lot of WNBA players. I think we're actually going to use it as an advantage in free agency, so watch out the other 13 teams. I think there's a lot of things happening here in Canada and in Toronto specifically that people will find I'll just say attractive. I don't want to give away anything that we're going to use to our advantage, but definitely the wheels have been churning. But similar to what I answered with before is like I look forward to building a really great team, and some of those team players are going to play a large role in communicating that and being part of it.
Sorry. Michael Grange, Sportsnet. Thanks to everyone for being here. I guess a question for Cathy or Teresa. Have there been any challenges to this point in landing this team? If there have been, maybe identify one or two. Maybe there wasn't. But going forward, obviously you've got a building to figure out, you've got a practice facility to figure out. What are some of the obstacles you think you're going to need to hurdle to be up and running in 2026?
Yeah, I'll just start with challenges, certainly always challenges in determining what are the right cities for the next steps of this league. Again, we take it with great responsibility, being that longest tenured women's professional sports league in North America, to make the right choices, to make the right decisions, to make sure we have all the right data to determine where are the best places. One of the nice things about being WNBA commissioner today, we have a lot of cities that want a WNBA team in the United States. And so it was a very competitive process. Obviously, we went out with the Bay Area first, but it's a lot of decision making to make sure, one, that you have the right city, two, that the fan base will support, three, Teresa mentioned this earlier, that the corporate base will support, because and the media companies. So a lot of economics for teams and leagues is media, corporate partnerships, obviously merch and fan, gate, season tickets, et cetera. So I wouldn't, I'd say the challenges are making sure you're making the right decisions, that you find the right committed long-term ownership group with the right situation that is, again, going to compete quickly for a championship and be successful on the business and basketball side. And that's what you're evaluating through the whole thing. And that's why these take so long, quite frankly, because these are huge decisions. I mean, when you only have 12 teams, now 13, now 14 as of today, these are big decisions that, you want 30 years people to be looking back and say, you want the next Larry Tannenbaum standing up here saying, wow, 30 years ago, this team led by Larry, really changed the game for women's sports here in Canada and across North America and probably the world. And that's what you want. So as you make these decisions, it's a heavy decision, I'll call it. So that's the challenge in my view.
I mean, I'll just add to that. I think that everybody can understand that a negotiation is called that because the two sides don't necessarily see the exact same thing. So every single detail is a negotiation because both sides want to win. But I think what we were able to accomplish in this is we kept the main thing, and that was that Toronto and Larry were the best possible solution for the WNBA to expand. And when we keep that forefront, we're able to get through all the other details. So I think we're great partners on it. Really appreciate the WNBA. They had to think really differently with this because this is something that's never been done. This is a first international team. So there's a lot of nuances to that had to be worked out. And I really appreciate the partnership that the WNBA had through the whole process to get us to today, really.
Well, and that's a really important word. And Larry's the one who kind of taught me what that word partnership means in the context of, making history today here in Canada. Is this has to be a partnership. And not every business are you in a partnership with your owners, quite frankly, or your governors in this case, and the stakeholders that you have. So thank you for bringing up that partnership. And Larry, thank you for teaching me how to build this partnership together.
This will be the last question in the room, then we'll go to Zoom questions.
Josh Lewinberg, TSN. Congratulations, everybody. Congrats, Teresa. I want to follow up on the team name. It sounds like I'm not the first person to ask about it. When you go through the process of trying to find the perfect name, whatever that ends up being, putting together the branding, what are some of the things you're going to be looking for, and what are you hoping that the name represents and symbolizes?
Well, we're looking for a name. Well, don't tell me any of your ideas because then I might steal them. So we'll wait until there's official rules and contests and ways to submit them, and then we'll take all your recommendations, okay? We don't want to leave here naming it quite yet. But I think what we want to do is we want to keep Canada at the forefront. We want something that really represents Canada. We also want to make sure that it represents women strongly, and we want to make sure it's like really, really cool. I mean, there's nothing better than a really cool shirt. And I think that working for Masai, I really understood the importance of swag. He's the swaggiest guy I know, and always needed to have all the cool gear. And I want the logo and the team to really represent everyone. Everybody can feel part of it, they can feel connected, and they feel like they can represent it with pride. So I'm looking forward to seeing what our community comes up with and going through that process together.
Outstanding. I think now we're going to take the Zoom portion of questions, correct?
Yes, thank you. And we're going to start with Alexa. Alexa, if you would, please.
Hi, all. Thank you so much for including us today from afar, from the States. This question's actually for Cathy. I was wondering if you could speak on how figuring out a plan for charter flights factored into making sure that this Toronto franchise could happen, since that was obviously some big news that we got earlier this month. And if you could expand on also the kind of the capital that was able to, where the kind of money came from for that to be able to be something that was happening so soon, because I know a lot of people weren't sure if charting could even be able to happen as early as this year as well.
I heard the first part about charter. No, having a Toronto franchise did not factor into our decision around charter. What factored in is that we're building a long-term economic model to be able to fund an operating expense like charter. It was something I always wanted, my team always wanted, but you didn't want to jeopardize the financial viability of the league until you felt you had a very long-term financial model to fund something like an operating expense of that size and scale. And so we're thrilled as of this last Tuesday, all teams are flying charter for the rest of the season. So we're really proud of being able to do that with the big support of our owners, the league, and quite frankly, the momentum and the corporate partners that have stepped up, the media partners that have stepped up to support this league. It wasn't like that 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or even a year ago. This is a new day in the WNBA to be able to afford this, and I couldn't be more proud to do this for the players, especially this year in an Olympic year where we do break the footprint. You see the players are playing every other night. I mean, it's the footprint is very, very challenging this year because of the Olympic break. So this was the year to do it, and that's why we did it when I did. And Alexa, I just couldn't hear the second part of the question.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I was just asking because last time we spoke with you in April at the draft, the plan was to just charter for select circumstances. So I was wondering if you could expand upon what kind of made the difference financially to be able to charter full-time beginning this regular season.
Oh, why now? I think I just kind of maybe answered that part of the question, which is as we looked at the ability to fund a long-term model around this, we're looking at all of our metrics up, record sellouts, season tickets, corporate partners stepping up to support us, media companies stepping up. We'll have a long-term media deal sometime in the future here after the 25 season. It'll go into effect. So looking at all of that, so looking at a long-term 10, 20-year model to be able to fund something like that, we feel really good, confident, and optimistic. And that's why now also because of the Olympic year and the really, really tough footprint we have, we were already going to fund charter for our back-to-back. So we started chipping away last year, full playoffs, back-to-backs. This year there were a lot more back-to-backs that would require air travel and charter, so we just thought, let's jump into this now that we feel comfortable with the financial model.
And I would just add to that, Cathy, I was having lunch with Teresa and Tammy you jumped right in when I asked the question, what was the Toronto game like? How did tickets work for that? Because it was sold out. And what did you tell me, Tammy?
The Toronto game here last year sold out in 10 minutes. That speaks to Canada, Torontonians. Canadians came from Vancouver. They bought their tickets, they got on a flight, and they were here. And who was here? Was everyone here at the game in Canada?
Well, and if I could add in just a little commercial about season tickets, which are so important because that's your dedicated fan. They buy more merch. They support the corporate partners who support you. There's amazing data about corporate partners for women's sports, particularly the WNBA, that a fan is 12 times more apt to buy from a corporate partner who advertises in arena or on an ad spot than the average U.S. adult. But also a commercial. I mean, Golden State has just announced, after they announced their brand, I think 11,000 season ticket deposits.
Wow.
So Toronto, the bar has been set high. Let's go.
It is
Sounds
high.
like a challenge, right? Sounds like a challenge. So go to WNBA.com/Toronto, get your name on that wait list for tickets, sign up for a membership. It's there.
Our next question will come from Howard. Howard, go ahead, please.
Greetings, everyone, from the province of New Jersey. Cathy, have a question about how this new news relates to ongoing media rights conversations. If you could kind of take me through in what ways this helps expand the footprint, whether it changes financially the parameters you're hearing from in conversations about this, both because of an extra team, but also because of an extra country that you guys are able to reach.
Yes, Howard, great question. For those that didn't hear it, how is the impact of having a team here in Toronto or expansion in general on media rights valuation? This is something I've studied for quite some time. Again, when you're only in 12 markets in a country the size and scale of the US and you're not in Canada at all, or elsewhere in North America, I mean, it is an issue of expanding the fan base, expanding the media markets, even bringing in the Bay Area. That's a big media market. I think as we've announced, going up to 16 teams, that's accretive. So I would say Canada, there's no doubt, Toronto, this team in Canada will be accretive to media rights, including media rights here in Toronto, so or in Canada. So yes, Howard, it weighed into, as we prepared for a new media rights discussion past the 25 season, it definitely weighs in to be in more markets. It just makes sense. You bring in more fan bases, more fans are following, watching, viewership, the quantitative metrics, even the qualitative metrics go up. So it's very accretive to be here in Canada from a media valuation perspective.
We have time for one more. We're going to turn to Megan. Megan, go ahead.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This is Megan Hall with USA Today's For the Win. This question is for Cathy and for Teresa. Just wanted to ask you, with so much investment in the league, what is the one word that comes to mind for this movement currently?
What's the one word that comes to mind?
For all the investment that's happening right now with obviously the expansion teams, fans coming to games, what's the word that comes to your mind the most?
Well, I come from the corporate world, so no one's going to like this. I call it the confluence. The confluence of so many positive elements coming together at the same time, which is more eyes on the game, more capital inflows into the sport, into women's sports, and certainly the WNBA, more people seeing the shift from us being kind of viewed 5-6 years ago as a charity to a real sports media and entertainment property. So confluence is my word.
Well, mine, I don't know that word. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with just progress. And I think just progress because, yes, there's been a lot that's been moving in the right trajectory, but we got a long way to go. We need investment 3 times what we currently have in order to even get to the level that men are at. And we want to be better. We want to be even more than that. We want to get to the next level. So we need investment even more than that. So if you're a partner and you're investing in the men's side, think about spending 3 times that amount on my team, and then we'll be starting to get even. So I think so far we've made progress, but we need more progress to go.
Outstanding. Those were incredible questions from the audience from Zoom. Thank you all. The one thing I'll just finish by saying is I cannot wait to hear O Canada played as our national anthem. I live in the States and I'm about to be an American, but I'll always be a Canadian. So